Red Tag event is going on all month long on all new and pre-owned vehicles at all of the Karl Auto Group locations. The Karl Auto Group now has more locations, more brands, and more inventory to serve more of Iowa. Being your dealer for life is not just a slogan, it's a proven experience that's just better. Online at karlauto.com.
Your dealer for life, it's the Karl way.
It's the holiday season once again, and last year was different for all of us. But this year we decided to decorate, celebrate, and gather again as a family. Penny and I hope that you can celebrate with all your loved ones and enjoy your family traditions. This has been another great year at the Karl Auto Group, and we're so thankful for all of our great employees and customers.
From our family to your family, thank you and happy holidays!
And that was really fancy. Well done, Matt Van Winkle. Bring yourself on real quick. Wave at everybody, Matty. Well done.
What's up, everyone? Thanks for joining.
Good job, Matty. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Digital Land with us here. Second annual Bowl preview show we have done here with Cyclone Fanatic. We appreciate you all joining us. We've got great sponsors bringing us. You saw the Karl Chevrolet ads. You'll see stuff from the Iowa Clinic, Fairway, Wild Rose Casino, and Graphite Construction Group as well. I'm Chris Williams, joined as always by right-hand man Brent Blum. What's up, Bloomy?
Hey, man. Good to be previewing the Cheez-It Bowl, just like we all thought. But
Iowa State and Clemson, we all had it tabbed in a bowl.
Yes, that was exactly what we thought. But excited to get down to Orlando here after a nice Christmas holiday, and excited to see the Fanatics down there in O-Town.
No doubt about it. We'll break it down from all angles. A couple guests coming up. And I wanted to have two very different types of guests. My X's and O's guy, he's the smartest football guy I've ever met, and I'm not buttering up to him. We'll bring him on here in just a minute. Ben Bruns is going to join us. It'll be good to hear from Ben. Again, he no longer the sideline reporter for the network, so we haven't really heard a lot from him on the team this year. That'll be great. And then one of my dear friends, he's a little wacky, but I love him to death. He's probably, I think it's safe to say he has not watched Iowa State take a snap all season long. He's all about data. It's all about numbers. It's all about analytics with Dave Bartu, the college football matrix. He's going to join us in a little bit less than an hour. And I thought he'd help us with Clemson too, because this is, Bloom, a very awkward bowl game, in my opinion. You take Breece Hall away from Iowa State, and then on top of that, you take two coordinators away from Clemson. I think that both of these teams are fairly motivated to be here. I don't buy that Clemson's not. If you watch Dabo Swinney's press conference this week, by the way, Dabo Swinney he had like a 14-minute opening statement. He's the polar opposite of Matt Cain. I'm not kidding. He talked for 14 minutes before taking questions from the media, where Matt is just like, all right, go ahead, guys. I think that they won 7 of 8 to end the season. Like, I think that they kind of reset their calendar. I think that they're going to be ready to be there too. But yeah, Bloom, it's just kind of a wacky game when you break it down that way.
Yeah, it is. And, anytime in bowl games, it's just hard to predict one game to the next. And every single game, it seems like has a storyline of either somebody opted out, or you got a coordinator missing, or you've got a head coaching change. And the thing with Clemson is, they're a young team. And so they're looking at, so they've won 9 games, Chris. They've won 10 games or more every single year since 2011, which is really incredible if you think about it. Yeah. So this, for them, it's a chance to get to that 10-win number, which is kind of that magic number for them. And they're looking at this like a game they had against Oklahoma in 2014 where they drilled Oklahoma. It was then the Russell Athletic Bowl in Orlando, won that game 40-6. And then that really set up the run of success beyond that. So they think with this group, their big motto, this, and I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm not a real guy when it comes to trees, but their big thing is grow the bamboo during this bowl prep, which essentially is it takes time to grow bamboo. News to me, but they're trying to get this young roster acclimated, and they think this will be a step off point for them to next year and years beyond. So I don't think for Clemson, this is a big game for them too. You know, obviously Iowa State, the name for Clemson helps them a lot. You know, if these guys weren't motivated, I don't know if you're as motivated if you're playing a Wake Forest or a Pittsburgh, even though those teams are pretty good this year. But the fact you get Clemson, Iowa State's going to be ready to go too. And this would be a big-time bowl win and be the second straight big-time bowl win for Iowa State coming off the Festival win against Oregon a year ago.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that from an Iowa State standpoint, clearly the Fiesta is a New Year's Six game. But I also think that beating Clemson and Dabo Swinney would be a really marquee win for this program to hang its hat on, especially without Brees. Like, I think it would be even more of a bold statement when you look at next year. We can grow our bamboo as well.
Water.
I don't even.
So apparently it's water the bamboo. Thank you.
Oh,
thank you. Ben Brun sent me a text. He's like, "This is a saying."
Bring him in.
Yeah, let's bring him in.
There's no point in having him out there.
Yeah.
Ben Bruns.
What is watering the bamboo mean, Ben?
You got when you water. So bamboo takes like 10 years to grow, and it builds this root system that's crazy. And then and you don't see anything, right? Year after year after year, you go along and you see nothing. And then all of a sudden, this bamboo grows up out of this root base that is really well established, and it grows faster than any other form of tree. And it's super hard, it's super strong. And the point is that you got to get your base set before you can go on to the next thing. And I think it's pretty fitting for them with a young team to try and reset and figure out how they set the table for the future to have that be their motto.
I'll say this real quick before we get into the game in Iowa State. Like I've always been like I feel like you love or hate Dabo. I've kind of always hated Dabo was where I landed. I will say I've been studying him. And I would really like to cover the guy. His press conferences are great. I don't know if it's changed my opinions on the man, but like there was something refreshing about a guy. You just sit there and he's like thanking the media for their time. He was very kind, and like it was great. Do you love or hate Dabo? We got to go around the horn here before we can get into the game. Blue, go ahead, Ben. Love or hate Dabo?
No, I'll step in here, Ben. I think he's got a little PJ Fleck in him. I think it's a little bit hokey. I think it's a little bit on the I mean, he's produced though, so it's worked for him. But he just seems like, and again, I'm not getting on the watering the bamboo thing, but I don't know. Cliche just never really did it for me. I understand this coming from Iowa State, and we've trusted the process now for 6 years. But I think Dabo kind of appeals to the least common denominator, but he has been very successful. So this reminds me, I shared this in a podcast. The reason his name is Dabo, his full name, Chris, this kind of reminds me of your name. His actual full name is William Christopher Swinney, but he has an older brother that referred to him as that boy, and that boy for like an infant turned into Dabo. And so thus Dabo Swinney is born. But I think I'm going to call him William Christopher Swinney the rest of the week.
I dare you to do that at his press conference.
Yeah, well, apparently he loves press conferences, so he might enjoy it.
It really is.
You won't get a word in edgewise.
No, you got. I got a lot of insight as to his coordinator hires through this. Because he kept talking about him. Bruns, does Dabo appeal to you?
Tell you what, I think Nick Saban is to me the gold standard in college coaching, and the ability to just reload and get excellence out of everybody involved. And I think, but he's so unrelatable in so many ways, and I think the piece that Dabo Swinney brings to the table is a sense of that same ability to drive toward excellence at the highest level, but also be relatable to people and especially young people. And I think that's why Clemson has been able to break through and beat, Dabo's alma mater and the greatest head football coach in college football history. And there's nothing lovable about Nick Saban, but I think, after a season like the one that Iowa State's been through, you can see just how meticulous you have to be in order to reach the pinnacle. And they do it time and time again, right? I mean, just lethal, the way they play football at Alabama. So I have a lot of respect for Dabo. I think he says some stupid things sometimes, but don't we all? Right?
Amen to that. All right. We'll get into the game. First of all, just games in general. Breece Hall not playing. I wanted to get your insight on this, Ben, just the difference in bowl games compared to when you played, right? And I be really clear here. I don't blame Breece Hall. I think he's probably doing the right thing. I will say this though. We are teetering a line in this sport where it's like, how do we expect, all these fans to spend all their hard earned, if it's truly just an exhibition? I mean, we've got games. This game actually is pretty straightforward, I think, compared to a lot of them. Oklahoma and Oregon, we don't even know who's coaching these games other than Bob Stoops, but I don't know who's playing in half these games. I think that the bowl season is really, really becoming it's running a risk of being irrelevant if it's not in the playoff. I mean, we've got guys skipping the year 6 games. What do you think, Bruns? What do we do here? I don't even know if you know.
Last year was really hard, right? Last year, I think, changed the dynamic of all this stuff because fans weren't at these games. They weren't in the seasons. And, I think the whole nature of college football is changing dramatically. I spent a lot of time thinking about Breece and what I would do if I was in his spot. And, the reality is, we talk about, I go back a long way, Jamal Tinsley coming out early and people were all over him. And you go to college to improve your life. I don't care who you are, what you're doing. You go to college to create a better future for yourself. Whether you're an athlete, whether you're, just there to get a degree. That's what he's doing. And, I think everybody in that locker room will respect that in a very meaningful way. And I think guys will step up. I think it'll create opportunities for other guys, Jairell Brock and others. But I do think it's hard because I think, you want to show everybody your best stuff. And man, this transfer portal stuff is as significant to me as, Isheem Young not being in the game is as critical, maybe not quite as, but close to as critical. Neither number one for Iowa State is going to suit up in this game. And, that part to me is the part that really makes it impossible to know what sort of outcome to expect in this thing. There's always a huge gap. And I think Iowa State has struggled when there's been a big gap. Iowa State benefited from a short gap in the bowl season last year from the championship game to the game against Oregon and was able to stay in rhythm and execute offense at a high level in that game. What happens, you're almost starting the season again, and we know that's not much fun for us. So I think how the game starts is going to be really critical. And, how the offense plays against a really good defense is the question mark for me.
Yeah, and I just think college football hasn't done itself any favors with how the schedule has fast-forwarded literally 8 weeks because of signing day. They kind of did this whole situation to themselves because when signing day moves from the first Tuesday of February to the second Tuesday of December, you've essentially moved the calendar up, and therefore that's why you saw all these coaches changes so quickly and the coordinator changes. Because if the goal is to recruit more players, you got to get your staff in place in order to get to that first signing day. And I just think it just has led to this and then the portal is basically a secondary recruiting tactic now. I mean, it is. You fill your roster with high school guys for signing day, and then second to that is the portal. And so all this is happening so quickly. And Ben, I agree. I mean, I think why you didn't really see much of an impact last year from Iowa State is you had 9 days or 10 days between the Big 12 championship game and the Fiesta Bowl, and just kind of rolled along. When you give guys 5 weeks to reassess the future with the semester ending and with signing day coming in, I just think it allows some time for voices to get in and talk to them, good or bad, whatever you think of it. So I just think it's the college football schedule has moved up enough that everything is sped up, and the devaluing as well with the playoff. I mean, I remember, Ben, when you won the 2000 Inside.com Bowl, that was Iowa State's potentially biggest win ever at the time.
Right.
And now it's, the Inside.com Bowl, which is now I guess I don't know what the correlation would be. It'd be similar to the Cheez-It Bowl.
Yeah. It was the Copper Bowl back in the day, right? I mean, people knew it because of that. But, the fact that every time you turn around, there's a new bowl sponsor and a new name of something, that doesn't help things either, right?
You're right.
It just waters it down. It doesn't water the bamboo, but it waters.
Yeah, I mean, this is the old Tangerine Bowl. What sounds more prestigious, Tangerine Bowl or the Cheez-It Bowl? I mean, I used to watch the Tangerine Bowl on New Year's Day, I want to say, when I was a kid.
Let's talk about the portal for just a second, because Bloomy, you hit on something really important here. And I go back to my time at Iowa State, heading into my senior season, I'd started a ton of games, had established myself as a reliable person. We hadn't been successful, on the field other than beating Iowa, which was easy back then. I played that as long as I could.
3-1 against those guys, Ben?
Yeah, 3-1. All 3 games I started, we won.
My man.
But we recruited a junior college center when I was a senior. And I remember thinking to myself, as a player, coaches are always trying to recruit over you, okay? And that's the job. And you don't, as a player, that seems so contrary to this relationship that we have, as coach and player. They've invested in you. You've invested in them. And I wonder if the transfer portal, in the fact that what you said about signing day moving up is influencing a lot of these guys to say, wow, okay, we just signed X, Y, and Z in these spots. The writing's on the wall. And I think Matt is really candid with guys about where you're going to fit in this in the future. But I also think there's guys that have people chirping in their ears, and there's a whole secondary agency market that has sprung up that's really toxic, in my opinion. But I'm not close to it, thank God. I'm really glad nobody was putting clips of me on TikTok when I was running around town. So it's a different world, and kids deal with a lot more than they ever have.
Man, just think about that TikTok while we were in college. That would have been a bad situation. Man.
Are we in the metaverse right now, guys? Are we there?
I mean,
I'm sold.
You're Zuckerberg. Chris, we would have just been at Welch Avenue Station. Let's be honest.
We were losers. We were dorks.
You're just getting those $6 pictures at Welch Ave with the legendary crowd there.
I got hammered because one of my buddies made a joke about I don't remember which band was in Hilton, but they were awesome, right? And one of my buddies made a joke, and I laughed, and it was on the message boards like, hey, and Ben Bruns laughed, and I'm like, wow,
oh boy.
So I would not fare well in today's day and age, but all is well.
All right, so I won't lie. I'm pretty concerned about a specific matchup in this game, Ben, and I wanted to get your approach to it because I have a couple ways of looking at it. So, I mean, you talk about seeing an elite defensive front. Iowa State saw one late in the season against Oklahoma.
Yes,
and it did not go well.
Yes.
Brock would, and then there's a lot that goes into it. Receivers getting open, Brock taking a while to identify whatever.
Yep.
my amateur football eye saw a guy getting the football, and he's getting, there's somebody in his face in a second. About every damn time he would take a snap.
Yep. And we had a difference of agreement or a difference of opinion on this, right? Because you're saying he's got no choices, and I'm saying watch what Hunter Deckers does when he walks in the game, and it's man coverage on the outside. Everybody knows it, right? There's pressure coming, and Hunter Deckers takes one step and throws it over the top into a one-on-one matchup. It doesn't matter what it is, right? He just was like, I got no choice. This is what's coming. I got to. Because that's the only play that's out there. And my point in all of that is, Darrell Simmons and Darrell Simmons is a really good football player, by the way, has had a great career at guard. But, Perion Winfrey was the man on the field that day, the man. And so, he was not going to be denied. It didn't matter who he was matched up against. And you think about Asamoah, too. I mean, that speed from the edge. Iowa State has a couple guys that are really good football players at tackle, but they're also not rangy guys. They're big guard type bodies. And, when you get a lot of speed, like Clemson will bring in this game on the edge, that's a problem. But what Clemson doesn't have that OU had is a couple of pass rushing D tackles that just eat your lunch. And I think, I was a little critical in that game. I believe that Iowa State's offensive line could have been configured a little bit differently, right? You bring somebody like Jake Remsburg, if he's healthy, into the game, gives you some more range on the outside, and you move somebody like Derek Schweiger, who I think is the best offensive lineman that Iowa State has, into that guard spot, and you have a better chance of taking on Winfrey. But, that's water under the bridge, right? And that's stuff that you have to game plan for. The nice part about this Clemson defense, as good as they are, they match up better for Iowa State. They match up more like Baylor than – in fact, what they really remind me of defensively is Memphis in 2017. That's kind of what they look like. They're a little smaller. They're fast. Their D-ends are good players. Number 3 is a stud, 265, 6'3" guy. He can play the run in the pass, but I don't think this is the same situation that we had against OU. But I also
make me feel better.
But I also think that's emblematic of sometimes there's nothing you can do when the pressure's on, and you just have to make the throw that's really uncomfortable to you in the one-on-one matchup, where maybe it's Sean Shaw out on the sideline, and he's not your guy that you go to all the time. You'd like to throw it to Charlie Kohler. But that's not what you're getting, right? You're getting press man on the outside or something that as soon as the safeties are anywhere near the box and you got man coverage on the outside, at this level, you have got to throw whatever the route is out on the edges. And I think that's the piece that when you saw Deckers come in the game, he did really well. And I think Brock tried to hold it and go to places that he's trusted over the years to great success, and then make plays with his feet. And he took hits for it. And, both of those guys had success in the game as the game went on, but man, did Brock take some big hits.
So without Breece Hall, because you just made me feel a little bit better about how Iowa State will match up with them. How does Breece not being there? Because I think Jirel's a fine running back, but he's not going to put the fear of God into a defense like Breece would going into this game. What does Iowa State have to do? Maybe play calling schematically differently without Breece, or do you not change anything at all?
Well, I think another question that complements that one, and I'm sorry to not answer yours, but to just ask another one that stacks on top of it. What's this going to look like for them from a defensive approach? Venables is a really aggressive mindset, and you can watch an entire season, multiple seasons of what Brent Venables is going to do in a certain situation, right? Regardless of personnel, this is how he's going to approach things. Iowa State does not have that advantage coming into this game. I think one of the things that the Cyclones have done really well over the years is make adjustments at halftime offensively. But we've also started really slow offensively. And I think the key to this game is to not put the ball on the ground and do something silly on the front end, play great special teams and field position until you start to figure out what's coming at you. But you also have to continue to do what you do, which is, if our offensive line goes out and opens creases, it doesn't matter. If there's a run threat from Brock Purdy, it doesn't matter, because now all of a sudden the defense has to defend more of the field. I think it's really critical how much Brock Purdy is a threat to run the football. We've talked about that. Bloom, you got tired of me saying that on our broadcast for years, right? You were like, thank God I don't have that guy on the sideline anymore saying, just run. We gotta. It's the equalizing factor, right?
It was like a constant for Ben. Run the read. Brock's got to keep it.
Actually, keep it on the read. Keep it on the read.
Yeah, keep it. I think the interesting thing. So Clemson promoted both coordinators now. So they lost both coordinators, but they promoted from within. So I think this is interesting. And so that those guys are going to be calling the plays. The new defensive coordinator is a younger guy, 36-year-old guy named Wes Goodwin, who's been on staff, also has been in the NFL. But he talked to the media this week, and he basically said, I'm coming, we're going to be aggressive. So I would anticipate a couple things. One, in the bowl game, you usually just kind of let it all hang out anyway. I think this Goodwin guy is going to want to make an impression by being that aggressive defense. You don't take a new job in a bowl game. You just sit back and let somebody come to you. So I'd anticipate Iowa State's going to see the kitchen sink from Clemson, and how it holds up will define this game. And so, I think for Iowa State, I think it's going to be hard to run the ball just in general against these guys, but Brock Purdy has to be great. 15's got to be great for Iowa State to win this game, and then trying to find somebody that can get open on the outside. And you obviously, had some issues there this year, but, Iowa State's ability to throw the ball. And when Clemson's been susceptible, it's been through the air, and you saw both Pittsburgh and Wake Forest get them for a bunch of yardage that way. So I think Iowa State's going to have to throw the ball with Purdy, and hopefully he's not under pressure like that picture right there all game long.
That's what I remember from Oklahoma.
Suboptimal. Athletic, but suboptimal.
Not great to be perpendicular to the ground. I wouldn't even know what that means.
Yeah. Okay. So from an offensive standpoint, Ben, like what Blum just talked about, we know it's going to be tough to run it. Talking about letting it all hang out in a bowl game, what are the chances we see Iowa State throw it 50 times in this one? Now, I wouldn't like it, but I could see it though, knowing what we know with Brees being out. What do you think?
What Bloomy just described is what OU did to Iowa State, right? And why would you not look at that tape and say, this is what we're going to do? Because, Brock Purdy didn't take one step and immediately throw it, up for grabs on the sideline, right? To force the issue. And, that's not a high percentage throw by any stretch of the imagination. Sometimes it gets picked off. Sometimes, rarely is it completed. But you do that 3 plays in a row, and you're probably going to get a flag for pass interference, right? Because that's just how the game is. That's what that guy's in. He's on an island. That's why every NFL coordinator out there, doesn't matter what the matchup is, when they got that, that's what they're going to do. And so, I think that's a question mark. Does Iowa State have the discipline to stay in that sort of a mentality and go 50-50 ball after 50-50 ball out on the edges? And will Clemson adjust then? And what does that do for a Charlie Kohler opening up things under the middle? And let's hope to God that Charlie plays in this game, because he's another guy. Nobody's talked about this that I've seen, but he's another guy that has a lot riding on this thing both ways. And, the last thing that Charlie Kohler would want to do is get hurt in this game. And, you also want to go play, right? I think Chase Allen is an X factor for Iowa State in this game. I think, he has been all season long. I can't tell you how much respect I have for that young guy, just going out and bashing people and getting open and making things happen. Like Dylan Sainer the year before, and Russ has been really good this year as well, making things happen. Iowa State has a really intriguing offensive approach, and what I mean is most teams when they line up, and these days I have the advantage of watching Packers games a lot from the end zone, kind of up high, which is an angle that I love, as you guys know.
Cool.
Yeah. And so you get a chance to see where everybody aligns. And the last game I was at, not one time did the Packers not attack where the bubble in the defense was based on how the alignment was. Whether they were running the football or they were throwing it, play action, all the stuff that they did attacked that spot in the defense where there was a natural void where you had advantages from a leverage perspective every time. The Bears 4 times in that game attacked spots other than the places where they had a bubble. They turned it over twice on those four attempts. Iowa State regularly attacks parts of a defense that aren't the bubble, and they do it with numbers and with scraping guys and with bringing people in motion and trying to pin and create a numbers advantage at the point of attack. And so that goes against a lot of the tendencies in football these days. And at times it's hard to watch. You're sort of like, your eyes are bleeding. You're like, it's a little bit like an option game. You're like, how is it possible that worked? But it does because there's enough guys in the right spots, and it just defenses aren't used to seeing it. And so I think what Clemson does against that, this is a little bit smaller defensive front, a lot like Memphis was in 2017. And can you wear on them a little bit? Do you have the patience to do that while you're also willing to go throw those balls out here if the safeties are down in the box?
Ben, you hit on something exactly. And I think, what Iowa State did to Oregon last year is, and it takes teams back a little bit. Iowa State is so physical with those tight ends. It's just not something that teams see ordinarily. And I think you could get into this impression, well, it didn't work really against OU or some of these teams in the Big 12, but they are used to the style Iowa State brings. And when Iowa State approaches, when you have Allen and Russ and Kohler, although Kohler's not as physical as those other two, it's different for teams. And so, and then the other part of that I wanted to mention, you look at Clemson's rushing defense numbers, you go, oh my gosh, there's no way Iowa State's going to be able to move them at all, especially without Breece Hall and with Jairo Brock and then those freshmen. However, they're a little inflated, so they got to play Connecticut on November 13th, and Connecticut ran for negative 17 rushing yards. So that's going to skew. Awful. Yeah, they're going to skew the now they've been good. Now, don't get me wrong, Clemson's got some guys, but Ben, I agree to a point. Iowa State can't just abandon what it's been for the last 3 years and not be physical, because the question I think for Clemson is, do they want that fight? Oregon didn't want that fight. I mean, clearly right. Iowa State, and Ben, you were field level for that game. Iowa State wore them down. It was one of my favorite anecdotes from that game. We were celebrating with the team after the game, and one of the players said, they were chirping a lot in the first half, but the second half it was dead quiet. Essentially Iowa State just wore them down. And I think it's different when you play the Big 12 when they're used to that. When you play this other team from the ACC, I'm not saying the ACC is soft. Clemson's played in big-time games before. They've been in physical games. But I'm just curious, if they're going to have their hard hat on to take it, and Iowa State's going to bring the fight to them, and how does Clemson respond? So I don't think you can just throw it 45 games right out of the gate. I think you got to approach and see if Clemson's ready for that physical style. And if it is, then you have to adjust. But I still think you can give Jairo Brock a chance here, and even those young freshmen, to see Iowa State if they can move them up front. There's no need to do anything else.
The little guy, he's gonna get some run.
Silas,
yeah, Silas. Yeah. He's gonna get some run.
So the other
guarantee
it. So those guys have each played 4 games, right? So Silas and Sanders have each played 4 games. You've got the redshirt rule now. I do not believe, and I don't know for a fact, I don't think Iowa State's going to take that really into consideration. If you can play these guys and beat Clemson, I think that probably matters more than potentially burning a red shirt. We talked about it earlier in the show with the portal, with the way the roster movement is anyway. Having guys for 5 years is especially at the skill positions. Yeah, it's not what it is anymore. So I don't think you have to worry about it as much.
Okay, let's go to the other side of this. I didn't realize how terrible Clemson's offense was this year until honestly, really, really bad. Like they're Uiagalelei, DJ Uiagalelei was like a Heisman contender.
Yeah, preseason Heisman guy.
Yeah, 54% completion percentage this year. 9 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. I mean, they're really 100 back in a lot of offensive statistics, which does make me, I'm still not convinced. Like, Ben did a really good job of trying to sell me there. I still don't really like the matchup of the Iowa State's big guys against that front seven. But my point is, I mean, this is going to be a game because I think Iowa State can shut down this Clemson defense. Now, the one part I wanted to ask you about, Ben, there's been so much made out of, and Matt Campbell even talked about it after this bowl matchup, that Clemson invited him and, he went down and spent a bunch of time with Dabo, and then the Clemson staff came up and hung out with John Haycock, and they traded all this. Well, I mean, they're kind of running similar types of schemes on defense. How does that impact this game? Because I know, Iowa State's getting a little bit they seem to perform better against this style compared to Iowa, right? Yeah. Because I don't see Iowa very often. Does that how do you think that impacts this game on both sides?
I guess I would just start with, any team that is going to doggedly sit into cover 2 scheme of some kind is ultimately a frustration. And, that's exactly what, Iowa State gets when they play Iowa. And the more compressed the field gets, the harder it gets to go do anything, right? And those safeties are so well coached about what to go do. Where's the quarterback got an option to go based on what the route tree looks like as soon as everybody lines up. And, with the kind of scheme that Iowa State runs, that Clemson runs, it's still a zone scheme that forces you to be super patient. But there's holes in different levels of the defense that depending on your matchups, you can exploit a little bit better. But I think the piece that is the most dangerous about this Clemson team is I don't know that I've seen a lot of defenses that run at the linebacker level and that nickel kind of position as well as this Clemson defense does. And, Iowa State does. Iowa State runs really well in that layer. You think about Iowa State's linebackers and all the success they've had. They're not huge guys, and yet they're able to both stop the run and cover. But Brock Purdy sees this all the time, and so does Clemson's team. And I think a difference maker, guys like NA, Will, can really be difference makers in this game because I don't have enough data set. I haven't watched Clemson enough to say how good that offensive line is, but I can tell you that the offensive line that won the national championship, it was obvious as soon as you saw them play, they're really good. And as I've watched Clemson play, I'm not sure how good this group is, right? They might be good. I guess we'll see when we line up, but they're definitely not in that caliber that could go put it on Alabama, right? And so that's an area where Iowa State has had a real advantage over pretty much everybody all season long, is the ability to rush the passer. And if John Haycock brings a little bit of pressure, which I expect him to do in this game, just a little bit in strategic spots, I think they'll get home. I do. And I think there's some questionable decision-making at quarterback at times for Clemson. They've turned it over some. You mentioned 9 interceptions. But, man, Bo Collins, the wide receiver on the outside, freshman, is a stud. And he will punish you if you get into a 50-50 ball situation on the outside.
Yeah, so they are missing Justin Ross, who got hurt in November. He was Clemson's leading receiver. He was a senior. So without Ross, which helps. And if you look at the Clemson numbers, obviously, Chris, you hinted at it. They struggled early, right? So they ran for 2 yards against Georgia, and Georgia did that to pretty much everybody. But if you look at
almost everybody,
yeah, except for Alabama, right?
Yeah.
But if you looked at the final 2 games when Clemson was at its best, and convincing wins over a top 10 Wake Forest team at the time, won by 3 touchdowns, and then they shut out South Carolina, and South Carolina made a bowl game. Chris, you know all about South Carolina.
The Cox, baby.
Yep.
Love it.
But they ran for 6.2 yards per carry in both those games, guys. Over 330 against Wake Forest and 265 against an SEC defense in South Carolina. Point is, if Clemson can run the ball, it's going to be a long day.
Yep.
And Iowa State has been pretty good against the run again. This year took a half step back than in years previous. But Clemson's not a team. This isn't Deshaun, Watson out there throwing the ball around or Lawrence. I mean, Uiagalelei, and I'm going to butcher that name 10 times before the rest of the week.
Uiagalelei.
DJ. He's not a guy that's just now. He did it last year. I think that's why he got some pub. Is he threw for 400 plus against Notre Dame and had a couple of good games. But I don't know if they have the ability to just air it out against Iowa State. So Clemson's going to want to run the ball, and that's another matchup where any inside and Iowa State's ability with the depth that's taken a hit in the linebacker spot, right? So, I mean, that's another question for Iowa State is who steps in there at the linebacker spot and at the safety. You want to bring a lot of fresh bodies in, but Iowa State's depth took a big hit with the portal. So I think it's something to keep an eye on. If Clemson can run the ball and runs for 200 plus, it's going to be a long night in Orlando.
Well, I want to ask Ben about the Isheem Young deal because Bo Freiler, Jared Stansbury did some research on this for us because I was like, it's just a weird transfer thing. I didn't really understand it. And I have no idea. I don't think this has anything to do with it. But Isheem's snap count really did deteriorate a little bit as the season ended. Like he was only getting like 65, 70% of the snaps as Freiler had really started to sneak in there. What have you seen from him? Because, clearly he was getting more run for a reason. How do you think that impacts this game?
I think it's a big impact. I really do. Now, Isheem's a guy that, seemingly every game should probably get, a targeting penalty. But, and after watching our game with OU, clearly that, can get flip-flopped pretty hard. But, so when did "or" get forgotten in the English language? Right? The rule is there's an "or" in the rule about what happens when you target, and everybody's sort of like, "Oh, he didn't hit him with the crown of his helmet." No, he hit him in his head or neck. Right? That's part of the rule. So you gotta judge it the same way every way. I really like Isheem Young. I think the dude brings swagger. I think he brings a really physical. Just a presence, right? And Oregon felt it, I can tell you that. It's hard to say what that effect will be over time. I got to tell you guys, regardless of what happens in this bowl game, I'm really excited about next year's Iowa State team. And I think one of the reasons why Matt Campbell's here is because the challenge of next year's football team is so different than the challenge of this year's football team. And the opportunity is so different too, right? It's all these new faces and all these, guys who frankly were recruited as higher level recruits than the guys that they're replacing that have been the most storied guys in Iowa State history at every position. And, I think that represents an opportunity to raise the bar in a way that none of us really appreciate yet, and it may take some time. We may be watering the bamboo, which, by the way, I think is kind of corny. I'll be honest. But we may be doing that next year. We may take some lumps. It would really be nice to put it on Texas one more time and their overpaid offensive linemen. What a bunch of crap.
I feel like we're watering the bamboo right now, though.
Come on.
Couldn't Iowa State say the exact same thing, though, with all these guys out? For this,
that's right.
Isn't that what bowl games are now? Like, if coordinators aren't there, half these teams don't even have coaches. All the best players are getting ready for the draft. Aren't we all watering the bamboo?
I think this is super interesting for Iowa State. I mean, you look at the depth chart that came out today, and not only did Isheem Young go to the portal, but so did Kamani King, who played a whole lot of snaps.
A lot of snaps. Yeah, so, and played well. Like here's a bright young guy.
Yeah, good dude too. But I think he saw the writing on the wall, and this staff really loves the safeties that are young, and they played some, but they got another guy coming who was in the 2 deep, but it kind of got me excited today. And Malik Verdon is his name, kid out of Ohio. He's in the 2 deep. He's the real deal. But not only is he good, but so is McDonald. Played a lot of snaps and got better and better and better.
Really, a lot better.
Yep, you mentioned Bo Freeler, Chris, who's they think he's a stud. Miles Purchase played a lot at corner as the year went on.
Yep.
And so I think these bowl games kind of turn into that game zero for the next year, right? So you are now building, you get those 15 practices, see how those young guys develop. And then you lost all your depth at linebacker. Horn's gone, so is Deshaun Davis. And so you had Hunter Zenzen as one of the linebackers now in the 2 deep. Those guys have to play. And so I think this is why the staff really is excited for this game is, yeah, you had some guys leave, but this is the group that will prove why Matt Campbell can win no matter what. Like everyone's kind of put the pressure on him of, okay, now with these guys out, what are you going to do? Iowa State's recruited well enough. These guys, as Ben so eloquently put it, were higher ranked recruits than the previous group. They really were. And I think you'll start to see that against Clemson. And so it's a big time show opportunity for these guys. What do you got? Not only
this.
No, I'm just saying.
I came into this. I was not enthusiastic about a win. You guys are talking me into the other corner. I like it.
But like redefine what success is, right? And I think that's the process, right? That's part of what pissed me off about the season. Let's be honest, right? So like the process gets you to a place where you should be good enough to do something, right? That's part of it. And the way Iowa State played at the beginning of some critical games was not good enough to win, to fulfill their destiny, right? Yeah. And then you see that TCU game at the end of the year where it's like, okay, this is who we are, right? And this is who we knew we were. And it's frustrating for everybody, right? Charlie Kohler was super eloquent about it, about the frustration of it. And none of us at home have any right to feel frustration in comparison to what those guys in the locker room feel or what those guys on the coaching staff feel. I can just tell you that, we have nothing invested like they do. And so, to imagine this season as a seriously frustrating endeavor was no doubt true for them. And to relieve some of that with the way they played against TCU and what they did in that game, I think is really meaningful. And this last game is meaningful too, because let's face it, Brock Purdy's last time in Iowa State uniform, Charlie Kohler's last time. I mean, like senior day was ridiculous, insane, right? Like stud, star, stud. It's like, wow. And so those guys all get one more shot. Right. They all and 28 won't be out there. He's done a great honor to that number. I was critical of that number, by the way, when Brees, took it at the beginning of his career because of, what it meant to me and what I saw Troy doing it. I think just what a great thing to have that number be absolutely phenomenal.
Don't you think they could retire the number now?
I really think it should happen. I mean, I know we don't do that, but I think that's a great point. Like, there's no way that you could have more greatness in that number than what we've just experienced, right? Between those
two best players
three
in the
guys,
school
right?
history.
Yeah. I mean, you put Darren in there too, but
Darren too.
Troy and Brees. So. This is a legacy game in a lot of ways for a lot of guys, and that means something. They'll come out and they'll play, I think, great football. But if you're Brock Purdy, you can't do too much either, right? You got to step on that field, and as soon as you see a look where everybody's pressed everywhere, and you're the call that you got to make is throw the 50-50 ball on the sideline. You got to do it because you could try and make some magic happen, but that's not what any probability chart anywhere says. And so, I think what happens in those moments will be the key to the game because maybe it's a pass interference call that just moves the chains, right? That's all you need. You don't need a home run. And I think that discipline is winning in the margins. That discipline is what it takes to beat a 9-3 Clemson team that the world forgot about.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
But they're a 9-3 Clemson team.
Yeah, they've won 7 of 8. Like they're not limping into this one. Ben, thanks for your time, man. We appreciate it. We miss hearing from you on the Cyclones. You're always got a home here, Cyclone Fanatic. I tell you that every time I see you, but it's the truth.
Fun spending some time with you.
We'll just give you your entire.
Good to drink a little Cody Road because
Beautiful.
You got to do that. And cheers.
I'm bouncing back from a virus, but I actually brought this. This is the Iowa Stream eggnog. Getting ready to open this up tomorrow is the plan. So thanks to Ben Bruns as always. Love you, man.
Good to see you, brother.
Appreciate your time.
You guys.
All right, we'll hear from a couple of our sponsors here real quick, and then more preview. Dave Bartu is going to join us here in just a couple of minutes as well.
Ever since Fairway opened its doors, we've been committed to developing relationships with the best local farmers. That's why 100% of Fairway meat is sourced from farming communities right here in the Midwest. Because nobody knows meat like we do, and nobody is better known for their meat than Fairway. It's a source of pride to source from the communities we live in and to help bring you, our neighbors, the highest quality meat for the lowest possible price.
So my life gets crazy with Brooke and Blake and a husband that works 80 hours a week. And I decided to start my own business on top of it, which is insanely crazy. But thanks to the Iowa Clinic, they made it easy to see my doctor. And when I get there, she listens. So I feel like I have a partner. And before you know it, I can get back to my crazy busy, insanely busy life where I have a busy business, busy husband, and busy twins. Oh no, where's Brooke? There she is. Care how you want it. Visit iowaclinic.com.
All right, welcome back. Cheez-It Bowl. I just feel weird saying Cheez-It Bowl. Like I know.
I know.
Why can't it be the Tangerine Bowl? Presented by Cheez-It.
The forklifts full of Cheez-Its that are being delivered for the bowl game.
I guess there's worse things. Do you even like Cheez-Its?
They're fine. They're fine.
My daughters would go crazy if they.
Yeah, I mean my kids love the nips, the Cheez-It nips.
Sure they do. They're boys, right? Anyways,
left it right on the tee for you, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, you just put it right up there to knock it out of the park.
But it's not. So it was the Tangerine Bowl C-Dub, and then it was the.
There you go.
It is. There's the cheese. The fork was full of Cheez-Its.
High level production.
Yeah, well done, Maddie Van Winkle. But then it was the Champ Sports Bowl for a bit, or whatever it was, and then
it was
Blockbuster as well. Yeah,
Blockbuster. So it went from Tangerine to Blockbuster, and it was still a New Year's Day Bowl back then. And then Champ Sports, Camping World,
and now
and here we are. Good for Cheez-It.
Good for
Nabisco, whoever. Anyways, we all love the nips here on the Cyclone Fanatic Cheez-It Bowl preview show. Maddie Van Winkle producing, doing a hell of a job. Let's before we get to Dave Bartu, I think Matt has been pulling. I think I saw him starring some questions that maybe we could take from some viewers as we are getting ready to talk to Dave Bartu here. Okay, so this is from Brent in Kansas. Y'all can read it. Strategically, what can Iowa State do to adjust for not having Brees? Nobody said it better than Ben Bruns when he was with us, and he laid out some good strategy. I just feel like here, Bloom. If we could look back at the year, and if we could say where were we flawed going into the season? To me, I thought we would have this dominant type of offensive line that could just maul people. Now they got dinged up, unfortunately. There are other things involved, but that just really wasn't ever the case. Brees had a really good year. The line wasn't bad. We've seen much worse, but it wasn't this dominant force. And I just wonder, you get a month to prepare for this. They probably were assuming Brees wouldn't be there. You know what you're facing with Clemson. The short passing game, I mean, Jirel's really good. I mean, he's probably a better receiving running back than Brees, perhaps. Brees is pretty good, but Jirel was constantly a third down type guy that you would put into that situation. I just wonder if we're not going to see, in anticipation for that Clemson line to be able to penetrate, Jirel being in there, if that quick passing game is, if they're going to have some stuff like that. And I don't know how confident they're going to be in the receivers being able to get too open against this Clemson secondary either. What do you think?
Great point. Generally, though, Iowa State's been pretty good coming off bye games, just bye weeks, and when this staff gets time to prepare, yes, I think Tom Manning and Haycock both are really good schematically if they get time to. I think what really helped Iowa State last year, if we're going to be honest hour here, is they got that schedulers 3 games on, 1 week off, 3 games on. It kept them healthy, but also allowed the time. Where the staff is really good is in the preparation and understanding what you're trying to do to us and what we can do to you. And so I think Iowa State's plan is going to be really good. The qualifier here is you're not sure if these new Clemson coordinators will throw something else there that they're not used to. But they knew Brees wasn't going to play for a while here. So they've had a plan. They will match up with Jirel Brock's strengths and the rest of these guys that are available. So, is that the edge passing game, Chris? I think that's a good option. Or, do they have something else up their sleeves? Jirel, by the way, super physical back. And I'm excited for him to get his chance. I mean, he was recruited. He was a 4-star as well, just like Brees was. Brees got on campus a little bit sooner, which gave him a head start. But I think Brock's got a chance to be a really good back at Iowa State in this game and next year as well. But, yeah, we'll see. The other thing to keep in mind, Clemson's leading linebacker, one of its 2 leading linebackers, I should say, is out with I believe a hand injury for this game. So they'll have a little bit of depth problems at linebacker as well. So I do think, Iowa State's still going to do what it does. They're going to try and run the ball, but there's always a couple of wrinkles. Look at that Oklahoma game. It seemed like there was a trick play every series. That's what bowl games have. So I would anticipate Iowa State's going to throw a lot out there. I would totally agree with that. And I like John's question here about a few packages with Hunter Deckers to mix it up. I love that. I mean, I don't see any reason why not. This is kind of a passing of the torch game anyways, Brent. Wouldn't it make sense? They're 2 totally different quarterbacks. It would make a lot of sense to me. I say this, I don't mean to be callous to Purdy here, but you don't have to worry about him and his thought process anymore of like hurting, like the Iowa game. I think the concern was, hey, if you bench him now, will that hurt him the rest of the year? This is it for Brock. So I think you bring in Deckers. I agree. So Ben said it well. This is a legacy game for the seniors, but it's also a passing of the torch game of what can these young guys do? And this is the stepping stone from 2021 to what still could be a pretty fun year next year. And so see what these young guys can do out there. All right. I see Dave Bartu's in the waiting room. Real quick, I do want to, we're going to have a tailgate outside of the Cheez-It Bowl. We will not be serving Cheez-Its. I can promise you that. So our guy Steve Blum is organizing this. It's for charity. We are going to be at the gate. He says, look for a 40-foot telescoping flagpole near Gate C at the southeast quarter of the stadium. He's going to have pulled pork, pulled chicken, mac and cheese, just a bunch of blue yummies, Irish cream, Cyclone Fanatic barrel pick, Cody Road, pop, water. You're not charging you, but we'll be taking donations, and we're going to be giving them to Jeff Hall, who is a shop teacher. Oh, he just texted me. They will be serving Cheez-Its at the tailgate, I guess. So we got to stick with the brand. Anyways, this is a cool thing. So John Walling, Rory Walling's dad, came on with me and Ross, and there's a shop teacher at East High named Jeff who is going through a really rough time with some health stuff right now. So we're going to give all the proceeds from this to his family. So that is coming up there's a forum post on Cyclone Fanatic, and Steve would ask if you're going to come to go in there and RSVP just so they make sure that they have enough food. I was at this tailgate last time. We did this at the then Camping World Bowl, and it was a really fun time. It was hell of a lot of fun. So, man, and Steve is a legend. Thank you, Steve, for organizing that. What an awesome guy. All right. Maddie Van Winkle, real quick. Do we have any more breaks to get to, or you can just shake your head? Or are we good?
We can do one more if you want. We can do one more before we get to Dave.
All right. We'll do one more, and then we're going to get back and come to Dave Bartu to get his take on the game.
The Red Tag event is going on all month long on all new and pre-owned vehicles at all of the Karl Auto Group locations. The Karl Auto Group now has more locations, more brands, and more inventory to serve more of Iowa. Being your dealer for life is not just a slogan, it's a proven experience that's just better. Online at karlauto.com.
Your dealer for life, it's the Karl way.
That's quite the jazz soundtrack to that Centurion stuff. I just got my stone fireplace put up. Perfect time for Santa to come down the chimney.
That's right.
All right, let's bring him on. The man, the myth, the legend. He is the Matrix. Is he wearing a Nebraska?
What is that, Dave?
Dude, I just got it in the mail from someone today.
So you thought you'd come on and troll our audience and wear a Nebraska shirt. I get it.
It's got Husker stitch in the back, too. It's totally badass.
That's fantastic. How you doing, my man?
Oh, dude, I am doing great. I am doing great today. We're ready to totally geek out, nerd out on some numbers.
I would love to. Well,
God.
I mean, okay, this is Brent, by the way. Dave, Brent.
Dave, I enjoy you on the radio in Des Moines. You're a legend here.
Cool. Well, I'd like to get out there sometime so I can get arrested, tased, and poured back onto a plane to come home and just make it a full bucket list trip.
We can arrange that, yeah.
I want to take Dave on RVTV sometime.
Oh, my gosh.
That's my goal. Just haul him around in the back of a truck.
You just fit right in.
I just like, okay, like I know we have all this data. Right. That's what you do. Because the way I introduced you earlier in the program was like, I doubt Dave's even watched a snap of Iowa State this year. I don't know if that's true, but yeah, you haven't. Okay. So
or Clemson.
Point exactly. With coordinators being out, with perhaps the best player in the history of Iowa State football, Breece Hall, being out. Like, I mean, how much do we really know numbers wise, like with what you do going into this game?
Right. I can go over all these numbers, and well, I mean, look at one of the first ones, right? The number one guy in all of college football, in terms of usage on rushing downs, is Breece Hall. 65.38% of all the rushes for Iowa State was Breece Hall. I mean, how the hell do you replace that? And just to kind of give you an idea of how many yards or how many carries that is, he's at 65%. Clemson's number one guy, Shipley, is at 31%. Kobe Pace is at 23%. They're at 54%, and that's their top two guys. Then you add their quarterback in, that takes them to 74%. So it takes their top three rushers that account for 70% of their rushes to exceed what Breece Hall has done this year toting the rock. And dude's not even playing. So right there, how do you even quantify how this game could even turn out according to the numbers? But we can still talk about them because there's, I don't know. You know me, I'm a nerd. So I like the numbers.
I actually thought, Dave, and I'm glad you said that because, and I wanted to see what you thought about this. The line shifted 2.5, 3 points when Breece Hall backed out of the game. I didn't think that was enough.
Well, I mean, who's anybody back out for Clemson? I mean, besides their offensive and defensive coordinator.
They have had 2 injuries, but no opt-outs, Dave.
Yeah, injuries.
Oh, okay. But their offensive coordinator is now at Virginia. Mm-hmm. Their defensive coordinator is now at Oklahoma. I don't think those guys are even going to be, be calling plays or anything. And so now on the flip side, if you've been watching some of the bowl games that we've had so far where a coordinator is missing, to me, one of the ways to, when you're a boss, I think the best way to tell how good of a boss you are is like when you go on vacation, when you're gone for 1 or 2 weeks and everything runs the same, nothing changes. You come back and your business is exactly the way you left it. That is a good leader. That is a good boss. And you'll notice with some of these bowl games where the offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator is gone from the game. Western Kentucky, their guy's already at Texas Tech.
Mm-hmm.
That offense didn't miss a single beat. That is a well-coached offense. So when I look at these two teams, the one thing that I can pretty much unequivocally say about both Iowa State and Clemson is that they are well coached on offense and defense. And if any of the coordinators are gone, I would expect those well coached units to still perform at a high level. So I do believe now with Breece Hall being gone, you can't replace that guy. I mean, he's got to be number one Cyclone of all time at this point, right?
Troy Davis. I would argue for Troy Davis. But
I mean,
okay.
That's an Iowa State argument.
That's a hot topic over here right now, Dave. But I would be in the Breece camp, I think. So
okay, how about of his generation, like the last 10, 15 years? Okay, because everybody, there's probably never one greatest guy, but there's like blocks of years, and so I mean, he's been for everybody under the age of 30. That's the Cyclone fan is the number one guy.
Yeah, so him or Purdy, the quarterback. But Dave, let me ask you this: the running back position, though. It's just it seems like in the NFL, it's kind of plug and play. So when you look at your stuff, and obviously Hall's a workhorse. We know that. I mean, 65%, I think, to Iowa State fans, I'm surprised it wasn't 90 because it seems like he was on the field all the time. Yeah. But, what is the running back position and how does that really impact? Because at the end of the day, Hall was great. I mean, we all know this, but you're at the mercy of your offensive line and what time is available as well. So, how much factor do you put into throwing somebody else in there for Hall and how that hurts Iowa State?
I think that would be from a local standpoint for you guys is how good is that guy behind him? Yeah. Right. How much do you believe? Now you can't simply replace him, but this is why everybody recruits well, right? So the second guy, look, he's going to fall off. He may be as talented. He's just not as experienced. Now, I don't think you compare college to the NFL from the standpoint of the NFL is all the greatest players. One guy in college can, with NFL skill, can change a football game single-handedly. We saw Cam Newton win a national title with almost no other NFL players around him. So I think it's an apples to orange comparison when you're looking at NFL running backs versus college running backs. But when it comes down to a Breece Hall, my next question would be, how good is the next guy? How good is Brock? Okay, how much speed does he? So I'm looking at the next guy. So Brock, he only got 6% of the carries. Purdy got 17% of the carries for Iowa State, and Silas and Sanders way down the list. I mean, they got 2% each. So nobody really got to carry the football at all outside of Hall and Purdy pretty much all season. So you probably didn't really get a good look at who's going to be carrying the ball in this bowl.
Yeah, it's kind of like the theme. We were touching on this earlier before you came on. I guess Dabo's been talking about he's watering the bamboo. I think it was watering the bamboo, and that's what this game is because it's all building towards next year. I just kind of feel like that's what bowl games are becoming. You know what I mean? Look at all the guys who don't want to play in them. I mean, half these teams don't even have coordinators. Hell, a fourth of them don't even have coaches. Right. But I would guess if you're around the LSU program right now, they'd probably be feeding us with they're trying to impress Brian Kelly and right. That's just kind of where my mindset's going with all these bowl games at this point.
Right. And it may just be bowl game by bowl game, because there's nobody trying to impress a head coach at either one of these games. I don't know what the transfer portal looks like. How many guys are already gone, not even just opting out of the bowl game, but hell, opting out of the whole program entirely. So I think it's super hard to handicap each and every bowl because, I mean, what's the motivation? Who's missing? Who's not missing? Who's going to step up? I mean, for all we know, Clemson or Iowa State may have a guy that just simply you give them the ball during the game and they just kill the other team. Mm-hmm. We didn't see it coming. At the end we'll go, oh, we knew he was good. We knew that was going to happen because he's really awesome. So it's really hard to say what's going to happen there. I guess if I was a head coach and there wasn't much at stake, I would try to get as much as my 3D playing time as possible. Get everybody out there. I'm all for getting rid of whatever the rule it is that says this year counts if you play in the bowl. Throw that crap out already. Let everybody get on the field. Maybe that would also help in the transfer portal. Maybe guys that got to see the field wouldn't be so apt to leave either. So the whole burn your season off of a bowl game. I think that's one thing that without thinking too much about it, I think we could get rid of real quick.
So what does Clemson look like in the numbers? Obviously, drop off offensively from Trevor Lawrence, but
right.
They won 9 games still, and I mean the talent level still is very high down in South Carolina.
Yeah, well, let's see here. Let's look at a couple. We can look at Clemson. What I was gonna do. You want some Clemson behavior on first, second, and third down?
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's
go.
Do it. We're geeks.
Actually, I'll give you a Clemson and Iowa State behavior. This is kind of a window in some of the stuff that we do exclusively for our programs, but at a much more detailed level. Down distance, left, right, where the ball is going. So for example, for Iowa State, on first down, the guy that is responsible for the most touches on first down plays is Breece Hall. Okay, we know that. That's at 47%. The next guy is Purdy. He's at 37%. Now, what's interesting is on first down, the next guy up is Hutchinson. So if I'm Clemson on first down, if Breece was playing, so if this was a normal football game, defensively, I am going to put a guy over the top of Hutchinson on first down because if they don't run the ball with Purdy, which they do half the time, or with Hall half the time, Purdy's throwing it, and almost 40% of the time he's throwing to Hutchinson. So you blanket him and force them to go to the next guy, which is way down the list, which is Milton. At 4% on first down.
He transferred.
Okay. So that guy isn't going to be there for Purdy on first down. Deckers, is he around?
He's a quarterback. So he's the backup quarterback.
He's a quarterback. So Noel.
Yeah, Noel. Yep. That would make sense.
This time of year, I could say Noel and get away with it. You can tell
Kohler,
how much
I would think Kohler would be on that list maybe somewhere.
Yeah, he gets about 2.5%. So
shockingly low.
Yeah, after Hutchinson, right after Hutchinson, boom, it's a shotgun, right? But the second guy he went to was Milton, and he's gone. So if I'm the Clemson defense, obviously on first down you're going to play the run, but I would play my defense that made Purdy get off of Hutchinson and go to another read and try to make him uncomfortable because he doesn't like going to these other guys. He doesn't do it very much. And so if I can make an 18 to 22-year-old uncomfortable in a college football game, I want him going to his second and third read. Now, when you go over to Clemson, what's amazing is their quarterback is either running or passing on 48% of the first downs. It's more than Breece Hall. So that every other time on first down, DJ Ugly is either running for his life or throwing the football, or it's a designed run. And so but how they break it up on first down, it's DJ, it's Shipley's getting 20%, and Pace is at 15%. So right there, that's nearly 85% of all of Clemson first downs. Actually, 95% their other backup running back, Phil Mafa something. That's all. That is every. So you only have 4 guys for Clemson that have really touched the ball on first down. So defensively, you can look at that as well. So that's just something I guess I could go. Yeah.
Is the Clemson defense the best unit on the field? I mean,
yeah,
pretty
it
clear.
is. It most definitely is. Clemson, boy, I'm looking at their advanced metrics, right? Performance metrics right now. Their expected points per possession, and this is expected based on their defense. They're 10th in the country. Iowa State is 54th. Play success rate, so better than 4 yards on first down, better than 4 yards on second down, and converting third downs. Iowa State on offense, they're 54th in the country on successful plays. Clemson's defense is 7th. So just those numbers right there definitely leans towards Clemson. Second level yards, getting past the defensive line and into the linebacker, into the secondary. Iowa State is 78th in the country at getting into the second level yards. Clemson is 6th in the country at allowing it. Open field yards. Iowa is really good at getting the ball. I would say getting the ball into space and getting open field yards. They're one of the best teams in the country at getting open field yards and getting guys out in the space. Clemson is 15th in the country at defending it. So I think just looking at some of the numbers right off the top, because points per opportunity, basically points per drive, Clemson is 3rd, Iowa State is 45th. So we can do a lot of these numbers. Actually, here's one that's really critical. Okay, right. average field position start. Iowa State was 3rd last year. Okay. 3rd last year in average field position start on offense. This year, they're 84th.
Yeah.
Clemson defense has the 16th best starting field position against their defense in college football. Field position is completely underrated, just like special teams, hidden yards, fielding punts, kickoffs, all these little things. So Clemson for the year has been very good at controlling field position. Iowa State's offense is at, like I said, 84th. Now, if you go over and flip on the other side, Iowa State's defense, average starting field position, 71st in the country. Clemson's offense, average starting field position, 23rd in the country. I mean, those two numbers right there for both teams almost tell the story of exactly how good these teams are at scoring or not allowing it. So I think what it comes right down to when you start, what can be the difference for Iowa State? They have to continue to get their players into space and get open field yards. I would really keep an eye on where their average field position start is. For the season, their average field position start was the 28-yard line. Rounded up was the 28-yard line. For the Clemson defense, the average was the 25. And I know you say, 3 yards, that doesn't mean that much. That's about 11% difference in scoring over a season. Those 3 yards, 11% difference in scoring or expected scoring. So field position is super critical in expected scoring on stuff. So
Dave, I thought I'd let you know the stats you gave on first down for Iowa State have now got the Fanatics are very upset with the play caller at this point. Tom Manning is now on the hot seat because of the statistics you gave. Just wanted to let you know.
Oh, no, we can go total hot. You want to heat somebody up? If I pulled up the numbers and started giving the career grades by unit coach, you want to do that?
Well, bring it. I mean, why not?
No, actually, that stuff is my
that-
business partner and myself. It took us.
You got to pay for that. Okay.
But it took us almost 7 years to get every coach, and I'm not talking head coach or coordinator, every coach. I can tell you every special teams coach in the FBS for the last 15 years. I can tell you who they worked under. I can tell you where they went to high school. I can tell you where they went to college. Everybody they've played under. But I can also tell you their special teams grade or their running back grade. And I can tell you every guy they recruited. Everybody. There is not a single guy in college football that we can't grade and profile for our clients. So while I'd love to go into it to piss everybody off and rank these guys, we don't need to start that fire right now.
Well, I know how much you've been anticipating this Missouri Army game.
They're playing?
The Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl.
Oh.
Thank you for your time. We're about out of time here. We appreciate it. Great insight as always. Merry Christmas,
That's cool.
brother.
Yeah, this is kind of fun. I'll do this anytime. Well, you guys want to.
Well, maybe next year's Cheez-It Bowl will bring you back.
Thanks, Dave.
Do you want to hop on a? Oh, okay, he's gone. He's back. I was gonna say if you want to hop on a flight, we'll hook you up with some Cheez-Its out there in Orlando.
Cheez-It bath. That's what we need to see. We need a Cheez-It bath tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right.
See you, guys. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Dave Bartu, College Football Matrix, one of the more entertaining human beings I've run across in my time doing this. All right, Blum, good show tonight. What do you have for your closing thoughts, my friend?
One, hard to follow up Bartu. So
very true. Very
true. It sounds like he didn't like Iowa State's chances, although we didn't get a final prediction. But I mean, does anybody surprised with the lack of field position and Breece Hall getting the ball a lot? Like these are things that it's just interesting. The numbers reflect that. But
I mean, the 65% thing, and then the Hutchinson thing was really. I would have thought but it does make sense that I mean Brock does kind of, and then on third down he looks for Charlie
a lot. Right. We were a lot of questions like what was I'd be interested in Kohler's third down. I mean, it's got to be, more than 25%, I would assume. But I don't know. I think it's the numbers won't tell everything. Again, bowl season's just different nowadays.
No doubt.
And without Hall, Clemson situation, 2 new coordinators, they're young. I would say it's got some young guys that they're looking to showcase as well. I think it's a great opportunity. I mean, at the end of the road, it wasn't the season we all wanted, but this would be a heck of a stamp on another great year in this ascension of Iowa State football. As we always like to say on our podcast and this in general, success is not a straight line up.
Nope.
And so I think this is a chance that this sets the table for the rest of the year. You've got all the Campbell stuff hopefully in the background now, and focus on a football game and a win over Clemson, which is one of the top 3 programs in college football right now, would be outstanding. So I can't wait for it.
Ben's analysis helped me as far as comparing Oklahoma to Clemson as far as that front goes. That made me feel a little bit better about what we're getting into.
Yes.
I also think some of our commenters over here make a really good point. Without Breece, it's everything will be less predictable because it's just kind of a crapshoot, and that's kind of exciting too to go into this game.
And that's the great thing. It was like, Hall gets the ball 47% of first down, but now what is Iowa State going to do?
What are you going to do now?
Nobody knows. Nobody has any idea. And I think, I think Manning's really good. I'm a fan of Tom Manning.
I like Tom Manning. I'm a big Tom Manning fan.
I think you give him 4 to 5 weeks to prepare for this defense. And obviously they got guys. Clemson's got guys. Always is going to have guys. But I'm excited to see what Iowa State throws out there. And a big game for him too. I mean, he's had some chances to go other places. He's decided to be loyal to Iowa State and Matt Campbell, and I'm excited to see what this offense looks like. But Brock Purdy, legacy game for him. Just to think of what that guy's done at Iowa State, and obviously it'd be great to see Hall out there too. But this senior class, one last chance in Florida against one of the best programs in the nation. Fitting way for these guys to go out, and I hope they do it with a win.
Real quick, thanking all of our sponsors, Graphite Construction Group, Wild Rose Casino, and Jefferson Fairway, the Iowa Clinic, and, of course, Karl Chevrolet. I'll have some gambling stuff from Bet Rivers in the next couple of days as far as betting this game, where the handles are, where the trends are, all that stuff. Jared's going to be going down to Orlando on Christmas Day. I will be getting down there late on the 26th. I believe Matt Campbell's first availability will be on the 25th in the afternoon. So, yeah, we'll have complete coverage from down there. I'm looking forward to, just from a sports writer standpoint, Brent, because I think there's a lot of interesting stories to tell about this team right now. And looking ahead to next year, like, I know I've said it, like, if you're in this business and you can't get excited about covering spring football this year, you're in the wrong business, because, like, there's just a lot of questions. And with the type of recruiting they've been doing, it's exciting. So thank you, my friend. It's always a pleasure. We will have wait a minute. I don't know if we'll have a Sunday night podcast. We'll figure it out. I have no idea what day is. It's Wednesday.
It's
just, yeah. Everybody knows what this time of year is like.
We'll have a beverage of choice. It's unfortunately I don't have Cody Rowe down in Orlando, but maybe we'll bring some
of this, baby. You have to come over tomorrow. We can open this.
See, I don't do eggnog. I don't do eggnog. Nope. Nope.
It's because the white sauce thing, right?
That's it. I'm not an eggnog guy.
I love eggnog.
Well,
love it.
That's probably makes a lot of sense for you.
I would drink it year round.
One good thing. I love TV ratings. Iowa State Clemson. Yeah. Iowa State Clemson's the lone window at 4:45 on Wednesday the 29th. So the ratings are going to be off the charts. So our buddy Stu Mandel,
and everybody can tweet at Mandel. Tweet it at Mandel and tell him to send me my thank you. Dude, it was so funny. Somebody today, Mandel tweeted about the cancellation of Texas A&M not being able to play in the bowl game.
Yeah.
And some random person just responded to him, "Thank Williams for the eggnog." Or thank Williams for the whiskey, not the eggnog. But that's you know awesome. What I mean.
Outstanding. Hey, we hope to see everybody down there, though. Come say hello. We'll be hanging absolutely. Out. And I think I don't know if you're going to go to the pep rally or not, but hopefully see some Cyclones at that pep rally on Tuesday. Are
you leading the pep rally?
I am not. We'll leave that to the Godfather. I'm going to be there.
Godfather's going to handle that. I'm going to
No. I'm going to be consuming beverages like the rest of the crowd.
Good for you. All right. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. Maddie Van Winkle, thank you for doing all the hard work here. We just come on here and talk.
You got it, guys.
And you're off to California with the family, right?
I'm off to California. I'll be watching. Actually, so the funny thing is we fly back the day of the game. It was terrible timing on my part.
Awful.
I know. I think actually I think our layover might time out okay. So we'll see.
You got to get on one of those flights with the cable television in it. You get ESPN that way. So
yeah, that would be great. I don't know. I'm on Southwest, so we'll see.
How do they have cable?
Dude, have you? I mean, the flights now. If you get on the tablets, I mean, they got the live TV.
Yeah, I understand. I thought you meant like physically, like running cable.
No. Like I'm saying,
how does that work?
No, they got the content on demand now on these flights. We've upgraded in the world.
Yeah.
Hey, any other year, I'd be down there with you guys with the Alumni Association, but Christmas is calling out west. So
palm tree Christmas for the Van Winkles. I'm digging it. Anytime you take a kid on a plane, God bless you. Man. So, all right.
Wish me luck.
Thanks, Maddie.
See you guys.
Appreciate you, brother. Thanks to everybody for watching. We love doing these. We always get huge numbers from them. We'll put this on the podcast page on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network, and you'll be able to stream it. You'll be able to people are getting a kick out of the cable plane thing. I took it literally.
You know what I mean? Come on, people.
Yeah,
come on.
I know what you
understand cable television.
Between the Nips comment with your boys and then this. Get out of here. We got to end this thing.
Merry Christmas.